to start using that card here, let's first of all think about where we need it. Later, we'll need it in the product's overview screen, because there in the app bar, next to the pop-up menu button here in the app bar, I want to add a card icon, which is displayed up there, which we can click or tap to go to the card screen where we see all the card entries. And on that card icon, I also want to show a label that shows us how many items are in the card. So we'll need information about the card here in the product's overview screen. We also need access to the card from inside the product item Dart file, because there we have that shopping cart button here, this one, which allows us to add items to the cart. And that, of course, means that we need access to our cart provider. And we'll later also have a separate cart screen, which shows us, or which allows us to see what's in the cart. So we also need to access the cart from in there. Hence, the cart is another thing that makes sense to be provided in our root widget, because we need it in a couple of screens, which are defined up there as well. Now, the problem is we already have a provider here. Now, of course, we could have a nested change notifier provider in here and simply provide our card here as a value. Would be possible, wouldn't be wrong, wouldn't hurt performance, but gets pretty ugly the more and more providers we add, because we have a deeper and deeper nesting. Thankfully, the provider package has us covered. It gives us a special type of provider which allows us to group multiple providers together. And that's the multi-provider. Multi-provider is a class you can create if you import from the provider package. And multi-provider takes a provider's argument, which is a list of providers. Now, to that providers list, you simply add your providers, like this change notifier provider value. Of course, close that extra parentheses and add a parentheses here after providers, and you're good. So you simply have providers, and next to that, then your child, which will simply receive all these providers. So in child here, you can tap into all providers you set up there. So now you have one change notifier provider here with no child here. It will simply get this child. And we can add another one here now, which receives our card. And for that, we just have to make sure that we import the card model or the card class. So from the providers file, from card Dart, we need to import this. And with that import added, we can set up this change notifier provider, add the closing parentheses, and we're good. So now we're adding these two providers to the entire child widget tree down there. And that means we can now listen to card anywhere in the application. Now again, stepping in here from the future, as I mentioned earlier, the recommended way of solving this here when you provide a brand new object is that you don't use the value constructor, but instead the create function in the default constructor of change notifier provider, which simply looks like this. And you should do this for products and also for the card. So that would be the recommended, the best practice approach. The other approach also works fine here, but again, as mentioned earlier, that is the current best practice of doing it. Hence, of course, I want to show this here.